G'day there, Cygnets and Swanlings. 2012 Premiership player Nick Smith here. It's my pleasure, as always, to introduce a bevy of bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club, brought to you by Noddy and Stevo, a pair of red and white tragics. So pop on the kettle and settle in as the boys had an in-depth chat about the Swans' last game, the Swans' next game, and a little bit about footy too. This is Nick Smith signing off until next week's episode. But in the meantime, remember, be good to your bloods and they'll be good to you.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods. My name is Noddy and I'm back from a quick work trip. Chris, thank you very much for stepping in last week and going Han Solo, mate. Super effort.
Thank you very much. It was actually quite fun, but I was nervous the entire time. But I'm glad you're back, mate. It's really good to have you back.
Cheers, mate. Couldn't tell it all. In this episode, number 51, we'll be chatting about the gigantic round 22 win over the Pies at home, as well as the very important game against the Saints next Sunday at Marvel. So fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods. Last Sunday afternoon, our Sydney Swans defeated the Collingwood Magpies by 27 points, with us scoring 11-11-77 to their 7-8-50. Okay, mate, first impressions, what do you think of that?
What an incredible atmosphere at the game, mate. It was brilliant, wasn't it? It was probably the most fun I've had at an AFL game in a long, long time. Outside of finals, of course, it was insane. And look, Collingwood threw absolutely everything they could at the Swannies and nothing stuck. The Swans played strong. They played consistent throughout the whole way. It was just a gorgeous way. It was a very convincing win. Strangled them all around the ground for chances. We held the ball, reduced their big player efforts. Clamps did another incredible job. And to top it all off, Sydney's had some rough weather. We had gorgeous weather, the most incredible sunset that we all got to share with the 44,000 people that are there. Joey's halftime lap, the 40-year anniversary. I mean, what else can you say apart from the perfect day of football, really? And what I really enjoyed most about it, that cola banner suggesting that that we're winning because of cola. I mean, 10 years a bit late. And Eddie,
it was an odd choice, wasn't it?
It was just a weird thing that I think they just roll out the same old jokes over and over again over there at the Pies headquarters. But look, the joke's on them. We stopped their 11-game win streak, taking ours to 6th, and we're jumping up to 2nd on the ladder, mate. What about you? First impressions, what can you say?
Oh, yeah, just a huge crowd. It was awesome, as they made mention of in the broadcast, the third biggest ever at the SCG and second largest in a home and away game since 1997, which was round 22 against Geelong, where the Cats actually beat us by 10, 100-90. Look, in a few years gone by, I think the away team might have had more fans than us, but not these days. There was an absolute sea of red and white, and the Bloods, we were plenty vocal. Dare I say it? Even hostile.
Yep.
Hospitably hostile, I think, is the vibe I'm going for. I think overall, we just had this slow, controlled kick mark tempo. Once we got it inside 50, huge tackle pressure, as we had been doing. Kept it in there until we scored, or if they did clear it, was set up behind the ball so we could, get another turnover and go in again. And it was just awesome defense, really, really cool attack, really tight contest and clearances, tackle pressure acts. I don't know. It was awesome. It was such a great day, and it was so tense. It did feel like a final, and it really was. The implication of that game was huge, and we're going to go through that tonight. So yeah, unreal, mate. Obviously, De Goey was laid out for them. Which was a bit of a talking point. I caught up with my mate Cyrus in the pub beforehand, and we both found out that during our pre-gamers. So he immediately said, look, we're going to lose. So I think that was a big one for them. So you do need to acknowledge that, because he's been pretty big for them lately. But
best player last week for them for sure. So that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. But you can't take anything away from the whole team effort that we produced. And it was just outstanding. Yeah. So, mate, what were your key takeaways?
Well, look, the one takeaway that's got unrelated to football was just the quality of the conversations and the behaviour of all the fans at the venue. I thought was fantastic. Met a few Pie supporters along the way at the pub and whatnot beforehand, and they're all in great form. So big raps to them of just turning up in numbers as well as the Swannies numbers, and just having a great game of football. But in terms of football stuff, the great wall of Sydney on full display. That defensive effort was superb. They had no chances in the air, on the ground, scrambling for goal. Like, we're going to go through a couple of those beautiful moments by Rampy and a few of the other players, but that was superb, mate. And not only for that, go
I'll
ahead.
add something there. Sorry, mate. It's interesting they went with the Great Wall of Sydney because it's obviously the Great Wall of China. I don't know what they're insinuating there, but like I also heard on one of the Swans groups that, there's the Iron Curtain, as in the Iron Curtain, which is also like an ex-Soviet Union thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a better pun than Great Wall of Sydney, but same sort of vibe.
Yeah.
And
Iron
they
Bridge,
really had it going.
Iron Co Bridge, we can use that. Okay.
That sort of thing.
I like it. Well, look, not only did we nail it in the defensive effort, there was also goals from the back of it. So 41 points from defensive 50. That's awesome. Like, that's just rebounding superbly. And also our might as well just drop it now. Rampy is now in the exclusive club of the top, 1,000 rebound club for all players of all time. The Rampy is one of that 7 of that really, really exclusive club. But yeah, Swanee's just doing it in defense, and it showed, and that just ramped it all up. They had superb pressure inside 50. You can't say that they didn't. I think we were just about equal on tackles inside of our 50. And they just did a great job of that. And we won because of that defensive effort on our side and the way that we'll be able to rebound it through just an excellent effort. 52 kicks positive our way, plus 27 marks our way. Like you mentioned in the first impressions there, Noddy, when we went rampant, but when we needed to control the game, we controlled it way better than anyone else, and we slowed down their impact. So maybe this, or was it all duck, no dinner thing, it's got some, whatever that means, has got something to it, but we did a good job of it, mate. We did a really good job of it.
I just think every single line played well. I don't think anyone played like poorly. Sure, there were a few, missed handballs and kicks, but, everyone played their role, I think, as close to as well as they could have. I think that the end effect is that we were generally a better team. It was tight in the first half, and then we pushed out in the premiership quarter third, and then it was really just a very intense affair in the fourth quarter, just with that constant barrage of Pies coming in, and we stood tall, Iron McCartan, Great Wall of Sydney, whatever you want to go with. But I think that generally speaking, we were better. We won the contest by 30, tackles by 19, and ground ball gets by 31. So you can see that our intensity and effort was there. The turnovers that I was talking about earlier, setting up behind the ball and then putting that pressure once it did come back into our D50. We scored 47 points as opposed to their 34 just from turnovers. So that was pleasing. I think I went through it, and look, it's not the first week that we've equaled, goals and behinds. I think it was last week, wasn't it? 18-18.
Yeah, 18-18,
so
yeah.
I went through and really had a quick look at a detailed look at our goals and opportunities. And to be honest, I think almost all of them were gettable. Some of the snaps were unlucky, posters. There were three posters, I think.
That Clark goal that just skimmed it, like got Snicko out to find out,
Yeah, and two Heaney. Heaney got 2 posters as well. But I think they were gettable. Obviously Reedy had a couple that were not great. Millsy put one out. Buddy also did a similar sort of thing. But I just think that, if we'd kicked some of that perceived pressure would have been a little bit easier. But, that's the pressure of a very high intensity game, a very finals-like game. And look, overall, if you include the rushed and the touched behinds, I think we were 50% conversion. If you just look at, 11-11, and they were 47 with 7 and 8. But if you remove those, it was pretty similar. Like we were 57%, they were 58%. So, it was lucky that on both methods of counting, we had a similar accuracy conversion because, that Bombers game that we let slip, that was one that they definitely had the conversion on. So we're lucky it wasn't one of those situations. But I think you can put that down to just, as Horse said, and I've got the quote here, we were sound defensively, strong at the contest, laid a good foundation for a 4-quarter effort.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that that's where it was, really. So, mate, let's have a quick recap. We are coming second up from fourth.
Phew.
Yeah, we're on 15 wins, 6 losses. We're sitting behind Geelong in first and ahead of Melbourne in third. And we'll go through the ladder in just a moment. We'll get 128.3%, up from 127.5. And it's percentage is very important this year, obviously, as we all know. The other games that could have helped us things go a little bit smoother in that round that didn't go our way. St Kilda lost to Brisbane by 15. Carlton lost to Melbourne in that disastrous last 2 minutes. And then I was hopeful that the Eagles could put the pressure on their local rivals, but obviously the Dockers ran away with that. Had those gone our way, we probably would have had a little bit more breathing room. But of course, we still had to beat the Pies. Which we did. So, mate, let's have a look at the run home.
It is a tight one, mate, isn't it? Like we were just talking about it before. Although we're coming in second at 60 points, so is Melbourne, so is Brisbane, so is Collingwood, all coming in at 60. And it's only the percentage that's separating us. And we've got a superior percentage that we've built out over a couple blowouts, and it is tight, mate. This week is going to be stressful.
Yeah.
What were we saying before, mate? Like if we don't win this game, we may drop all the way down to sixth.
Yeah. So basically, first and foremost, we have to win if we want to stay in the 4. And there's a fair few permutations, but basically we need to win to stay in the 4.
Yep.
If we win and a few other things go our way, we could secure second place, so long as we have a similar amount of a similar percentage, and the other teams have a similar percentage as it stands at the moment. So obviously Melbourne, Brisbane playing each other, one of them is going to lose unless they draw. So one of them is going to stay on 60, one's going to go to 64.
Oh my God, if they
Collingwood,
draw.
Yeah, I know. I haven't even really considered that.
That's not an option, but yeah, okay.
It's not an option.
That's not something we should write down, no.
Collingwood and Carlton are just going to explode each other at the MCG, which is probably going to be a cracker, 90,000 or whatever they're saying.
Yeah.
And Carlton really need to win that to stay in because, the other way of looking at it is that, Bulldogs play the Hawks. They're a chance of sneaking in, as are the Saints if they do a number on us. So, we're not going to drop out of the finals race, but we're really not going to do ourselves any good if we don't win. So, really just need to win and then hopefully play well enough to secure a similar percentage so that we can have a crack at the second, keeping second place.
Every single team in this 8 outside of Geelong who's got first wrapped up and had it wrapped up a couple of weeks ago, from second to 10th is an intense battle. Every single team has this last game to have that last throw of the dice at positioning themselves correctly in the finals.
Yep.
And it is tight, mate. It is tight. Freo is going, they've got everything to play for. If they win this game and Collingwood doesn't, they roll into that top 4 and all of a sudden they potentially roll into a top 4 and all of a sudden it's a totally different mixture. It is a tight race, mate.
But do the Giants do they do us a solid and get the job done down there in Canberra?
I think
can't see it happening.
The only thing that helps us at all, like this is really what it comes down to. The team, the Swans just need to win this week.
Yeah,
we can all of the other things aside. If we do win this week, we more or less have second locked up outside of Melbourne, just blowing Brisbane away.
Exactly. And that's probably not, I mean, never say never, but it's at the Gabba. So that's going to be a hard task for them anyway. So you'd have to imagine that they're going to stay on a similar level of percent or I don't know. Just unless Brisbane blows Melbourne away.
Exactly.
That's the other possibility.
So it all comes down to we just have to win. If we win, we more or less, for the most part, can have second wrapped up. If we win, we stay in the 4. If we don't win, we go down as far as 6th. And who thought that we were going to be battling for second at this point of the season? We didn't necessarily think it, but we are. Our team's looking red hot. Everything's looking our way. We just played a really tough game against a good opponent, although not at full strength. Everything is lining up perfectly for this season. It's the end of the season. We've just got St Kilda to beat now. And they're at 44 points at 100.1 percentage. So, and they've played hot at the beginning of the season and slowly dropped off towards the end there. But they did give Brisbane a red hot go. And if Max King could kick straight and his team, I don't know, if his coaches let him talk to maybe someone who knows better every now and then, he might have won that game. But they didn't. He didn't kick straight, and they're now struggling to get in that top 8, and that's it.
We'll go into that. We'll flesh that out a little bit more in the preview section as well. But I'll just add the only current top 8 teams that we haven't beaten are Brisbane and I want to say Carlton, but I feel like we have. What was our score against them?
Oh, good question.
Or did we even beat them?
I don't think we beat them.
No, I think we lost to them.
Yeah, I think we lost to them.
We lost to them away. That's right. Yeah, that a frustrating game down in Melbourne. So they're the only current. They're the only teams from the current top 8 that we haven't beaten. But that's more of a comment to consider once next round is finished. So anyway, mate. All right. Well, just really quickly, I think we can all agree on the favourite moments. There were some really standout moments in this game.
Yeah.
And what were they?
Okay, my ones, I'm just going to say quickly, Rampy's first goal since 2016. He just rolled onto it. You saw his eyes light up. He kicked it straightest kick you've seen, straight through. We were right behind where that came off his boot, and we went bananas. So that was awesome. And then sticking on the Rampy's goal-saving dive tackle, Milocek. What's his name? Milocek. I'll say Milocek because it's Miloš. Milocek was incredible, and every single Swans fan in the entire CG got up and screamed and clapped. It's like the end of the game. It felt like that energy. It was incredible, and Rampy just solidified himself once again in our hearts of just being this hard-working monster that gets it done no matter what, mate. That was my 2 favorite moments.
Yeah. Even Horse said he just typifies the defend to the death mentality.
That's right.
And to do that as a leader was just terrific. But I mean, other Swans fans have said it reminded them of, funnily enough, that Heath Shaw dive on the line, I think, in that grand final against the Saints.
Yeah, that's right.
It really had that level of impact at that time in the game because the Pies were coming so hard, and we just kept coming in and in and in, and really that moment, and then not long after that is the ISA, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Is that play where we cleared it, got it out, and then Heaney runs like 150 meters or something, just sprints, and then does that awesome little tap down to Buddy, and Buddy gets one hand on it and just smashes it on the left.
That was awesome.
That was so cool.
There was a kid on camera just as where the ball hit the wall, whose eyes lit up like that. He was just, you could see at that moment he's like, Swans is life from now on. Like that his face just showed it, and it was incredible. Like what a skill set from those two. And if you noticed after that moment, Heaney walked up to him for a big hug, and they embraced for much longer than normal embrace. No, that's like a bit of a cuddle, like, oh, good on you, mate. No, this was like holding on to him like, I love you, dude. I love you too, man. Like it was a moment. It was gorgeous. It was so good.
It was lovely. Yeah. And that was, they were just, obviously we'll talk about them as well. They had a few shots on goal between them, and we've already said, there were a couple of posters there for Heaney, but I mean, he was, they were both worked really, really hard, and you could see that everyone was switched on, and every single line. We've said it already. Every single line for the Swans was just played out of their skin, and Buddy was no exception, and that was an incredible moment. All right, mate. So we're going to move on to the ABOB medal, obviously our equivalent of the Bob Skilton medal. The Bevies best bloods this week in 3-2-1 points order were Callum Mills, James Rowbottom, Robbie Fox. Gorgeous. And then we'll go on honourable mentions after that, mate. So, Millsy, what do you think of his game?
Again, I'm not going to harp on it too much. Like another 3 points for the captain, getting it done both ways. Just another perfect game. What can you say? What else can I say apart from him just leading every single part, from the pressure to like the movement of the ball, from being in the right positioning, playing. He goes from playing the goal square goalkeeper in 1 second, then to playing the wing and helping out with the contest and getting the ball out the center in order to get to another goal opportunity. The guy is just everywhere. Yeah, and it's just and it's not even. Heaney's everywhere, but it's a totally different type of everywhere. He's got an offensive movement about it. Mills just has this like solid lockdown defending kind of role about him. I can't say enough. What can you say, Noddy? What about the numbers, mate?
29 disposals, 7 tackles. So the 29 disposals was best on ground, 7 tackles second, 7 score involvements, 5 clearances, both third. And I think that's for the game. Was that Swans?
I think that was for the game.
For the game, yeah. So a few Swans fans were saying they thought he looked a bit proppy and they were worried that maybe the Achilles was back. But he's doing that amount of running that you've just pointed out. I don't know. I didn't really see it. I thought he was moving okay. I mean, look, there were a few moments where the ball flew over his head where maybe if he was feeling more athletic, he could have gone for it.
Yeah,
but
he wasn't getting up. I think it was moving on the ground laterally, but not jump. Couldn't get himself up. I noticed, but there might be something there. He's hoping that he's just a little bit sore and nothing serious. But he's played through that before. It's been a thing for the entire year. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, and the one goal that he went for. Well, I mean, one went out on the full, and then the other one was a set shot that he sort of took the mark in front of Heaney, and then just missed that. But yeah, other than that, yeah, pretty perfect game, to be honest, mate. Like, all right, Rowie, what do we say about this bloke? I've got to start. I've got to kick off with this quote. So in the post match press conference, a journalist asked Horse about Rowie, and quoted something that James had said. If I'm not tackling, I'm not bringing any value to the team. And Horse responded, "Jesus, he's a bit hard on himself." And obviously it's not just tackling that he brings. Obviously it's an amazing skill set that he does have, but he was really everywhere in that game against the Pies. How did you see it?
Yeah, same, mate. And just to get that sneaky goal as well, amongst it all, just in the middle of the contest, grabbed it, threw in his boot. It went good for 50 meters and then bounced on through. Huge.
Flogged it, didn't he?
Yep.
And bounced through. That was really, that was the thing that really got us sort of ahead. I guess we kicked off the fourth that way, and then had that huge amount of pressure for about 10 minutes, and then came back and iced it with Buddy. But goodness, what a game!
He finishes tackles. That's what I like about him. He doesn't just put an arm around him and just like hope the ball streaks out. He takes people down. He takes them out of the contest. He does little things like that just makes him just more impactful around the ball. And as his kicking has become a little bit sharper and sharper over the year, and I think that's one thing that's probably one of his lesser attributes, he's just really showing himself. And I think what Horse is saying there is, and what he's saying, if I'm not tackling, I'm not bringing any value to the team, is probably a little bit tough on himself, isn't it? Because he's not just there for his tackle pressure anymore. He's there for a bunch of other things. But that is an enormous attribute he has. Like JPK was never a great field kick, but it was his pressure around the ball and his just strength and his being able to monster someone off the ball at the same time as grabbing and passing over to someone else. No one can get his arms around him. Those little things just make up a player. And I think, Rowie's just got to just keep on his skill sets. And if he does that, far out, man. Who knows how far he goes. Like I said, he's got a really high ceiling. I'm really quite excited about him. And
he's still pretty young.
Time.
Yeah. 24 disposals, 8 tackles, 1 goal, 7 clearances, second on the ground, 6 inside 50s, best on ground with Chad and Errol. His disposal efficiency, as we've said, was I think it ended up being about 50% or whatever it was. But, look, defensive effort and all of those other things he's doing more than make up for it. So no worries there, mate. Well done, Paddle Bum. All right, so Robbie Fox, fantastic Mr. Fox. Where do you start? He's really peaking, isn't he? Well, not peaking, but he's really. You wonder if he'd had a better run at it. He's interesting story, isn't he? Like coming in and out. Now he's late 20s now, and
what is he?
Delisted,
28,
relisted,
27,
delisted,
28?
28, 29, I think. Yeah. So, but goodness, wasn't he fantastic?
Oh, he was so good. And it's just like it was all doing all these things that I think we've been missing in the team for a little while, which is just that his field kicking is grand. He can run all day long. He gets himself into good position. He's good with the ball on the ground as well as in the air. He's a smarter footballer, and he just does everything. And he's even sitting on guys and taking them away from the contest, like stopping them like he did with Elliott. So just really good. Really, really happy with the way that he went about it, mate. He's 19 disposals, 10 marks, 2 tackles, 6 intercepts, and get it all done.
He just looked very sharp, didn't he? And the way that he just evaded. Yeah, he's just got some really good leg speed, and obviously he can go pretty much all day. So really lucky that he's playing this kind of footy at this time of the year, and I mean,
don't forget,
credit to him.
We've also got Gould and Melican in the sidelines as well.
Well,
right?
and Cunningham. I think Cunningham and Braden Campbell as well. Like, so the depth runs deep. Like, we've got a lot of these guys that could be doing that sort of thing, but they're being kept out because of the form that he's bringing to the table, and it's working well, isn't it? Because it's not, you got Rampy and Lloyd as the the elder defenders, really, but then Fox is sort of up there with them, but they all sort of bring something a little bit different, right? Rampy can do lockdown and go tall. Lloydie can, he's doing a bit more short, bit of lockdown and then obviously kick-ins. But Foxy's doing a bit of both, and he's running off the halfback like Blakey and Ollie. So it's really complementary. And then of course you've got the McCartan brothers doing their thing.
The McCartans are properly stationary, aren't they? They're not moving too far off their man. They're not moving outside that 50. Every now and then Paddy might come out just following his forward, and then
it's got a nice field kick.
It's got a great field kick, and he can also take an incredible contested mark. So even if it does go his way, he's got a good chance at it. But Foxy, like you said, he's just got a bit of a skill set that's not quite in the team, and it's just sliding in perfectly with the way that they're working it out. So,
awesome. All right, mate. Honourable mentions. Kick off with yours, mate.
Well, okay, I'm going to take Parker because I feel he's quite unlucky to get some points this week. He did everything he could have done: 26 disposals, 8 tackles, 7 clearances from stoppages, 8 clearances, best on ground. He was really, really good. He was all the way effort. There was trialing by him, just toughness from him all the way through the game. Unlucky to get some biscuits there and some points in the ABOB. And the other one that I'd probably touch on just quickly would probably be Clark. So what can you say about Clark apart from now he's a staple in the team? Like, we're into finals now. There's always going to be a tough running defender that's going to be needed to be shut down a bit. And he is now a lock in the team week in, week out. He went over to Dacos and really shut him down, mate. You've got some numbers there that you probably can touch on.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been in the news. Like, I think it's been on the AFL app, and then also I think Kane Corns threw his hat in the ring. But I mean, it's well documented, but they've put the numbers up. They haven't put all the numbers up, but basically, the likes of the players that he's shut down over the past 5-6 weeks: Jack Sinclair, Bailey Dale, Jordan Clark, Brodie Smith, Jordan Dawson, Harry Himmelberg, Aaron Hall, Nick Dacos, and the numbers, and they've looked at the minutes that I assume he's played on them, but basically the disposals they've conceded are 11, 16, 11, 16, 6, 8, 19, 12. I actually think they might be disposals minus kick-ins potentially, because I think Nick Dacos ended up getting about 20. Oh, but maybe that was the minutes.
That's the time it was on him.
The time was on him, yeah. So, look, if you look at their average disposals for the year, and of course that would include the numbers that Ryan Clark played on them, so it's not perfect. But just look at the types of numbers these players get in a normal sense. Sinclair, 27.7 elite. Bailey Dale, 26.6 elite. Jordan Clark, 21.4 above average. Brodie Smith, 20.7 above average. Jordan Dawson, 24.7 elite. Harry Himmelberg, elite at 18. Aaron Hall, 23.5 elite. And Nick Dacos, 26 elite. And they're all obviously elite for their positions. They're not necessarily all midfielders. They're all sort of run around, and that's how Champion Data work it out. But basically, he has had a huge effect on the numbers of basically elite players. And so it's no wonder that, this 6-game win streak has coincided with, the team gelling, but also Ryan Clark having a huge effect on the opposition team's main playmaker out of their defensive 50.
That's right. And it's a very different tagging role than we've seen in the past. Like, the traditional taggers sit on their best player. Kane Corns would be sitting on the person who's the kind of the bloke who's going to get around the ground the more. He's going to be getting the most amount of possessions, which this is a little bit different, because what you're trying to do with Clark is he's trying to get them to rush their kicks. He's trying to get them to be in bad positioning, or if they do have an opportunity for possession, to contest that. He's just a really unique talent that horses managed to find and how to use him. Because there was no doubt that he was way too good for VFL. Like, what does he get? His touches was like 40 average over at some point there.
Yeah,
he's killing it.
He's an accumulator, but that, I mean, he's playing a different role there.
That's
it just
right.
shows you that he's got the tank. He's got the he's definitely AFL level. But I mean, look, in the past, he's also 25, and this is the other thing I keep thinking
that's
about.
Interesting.
When he's been in the similar article, he talks about having been in a dark place for a couple of years playing twos, and that's coincided with the pandemic, obviously, but. The struggle to crack back into the senior side, it's he's good enough to play AFL because he's smart enough to play the role that he's been given.
Yeah.
Now, obviously at VFL, he just runs amok and gets leather poisoning. But, I mean, Horse also said, they expected that he would be on Dacos, Nick Dacos. So they threw Dacos around pretty early on as well. I think they threw him forward pretty early on.
They did, yeah.
So Clark just went on to someone else.
Yeah, he sat on Hal for a bit.
Out. Yeah. So look, it's exciting. It's really good for him. We have always thought that he's really tight with the young group. The likes of Papley and Heaney and some of these other guys. I think he's in with the racehorse with those boys. So it's good that he's now playing with them and performing and almost. Pretty much been kicking a goal a game. He hit the post this time.
Yep.
He's a couple of games he's gone without any score. But if he's doing this at this point of the season and this is how we're going, awesome.
Yep.
Awesome stuff.
I mean, I would love to attribute a bit of it to just us drunkenly screaming at him words of encouragement after a game as it was taking his laps at the end of the game.
Yeah, after the Saints game.
Mate, you tell me, am I lying to say that the next week he came into the team and then he's been a lock since?
It might have been
maybe 2 weeks.
It might have been the next. I'd have to.
Yeah.
When did he come in? He came in. We haven't prepared.
Guess.
Anyway, he came in about 5 or 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It might have been the week after the Saints game. I can't remember, but yeah, it wasn't long after that, mate, for sure.
That's it.
So, are we claiming it again?
Yeah. Go.
On air, we're claiming it again.
You're all welcome. You're all welcome.
30 pressure acts, mate. He did well. Look, I'm going to have a quick word about Buddy and Heaney, and just we've already spoken about that beautiful moment after that incredible goal or that play that they got. Buddy was in really good touch. Obviously kicked 3-1 for the game, and in doing so overtook Plugger on the South Melbourne and Sydney all-time goals kicked leaderboard. So just for reference, sitting in first place is Bob Pratt on 681, Mickey O'Loughlin 521, Baz Big Bad Barry on 467, Adam Goods the champion on 464, Lance Franklin now on 463, and Plugger Lockett 462. So he's in some esteemed company on this list, if he wasn't already, in the wider sense of things. But yeah, look, Buddy doing Buddy things.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was unreal.
Yeah.
Also, a quick shout out to Heat, Isaac the Heat Heaney, as we like to call him here on ABOB. 10 score involvements, best on ground. I think we had, 22 scores if you include the rush behinds and everything. And he's involved in half of them, or almost half of them. So unbelievable. 17 disposals as a forward, high half forward, 2 goals, 3 behinds, 2 of those are posters. So he was really in the thick of it for his 150th. And I thought he had a cracking game. And one other thing I was watching in the replay, I think it was after that last moment, after the embrace with Buddy, and they're having a bit of a water, and Ryan Clark actually comes up to him and does this nice little sort of tap on the head, and Heaney stands up and gives him his water bottle, and then you see Ryan Clark drink the water bottle, and then you see Heaney sort of tracking down the another water bottle because he hadn't finished yet. But I just thought that was nice that he's clearly one of our premier players, but is handing out the water bottle to his teammates.
He's half a runner at the same time as being one of the high forwards. Good on him. That's not bad. He did mention as well that this was the first time in one of his milestone games that they'd won. So he was particularly happy about that. I was like, oh, that's good. So that's a good present for him anyway.
Definitely. One thing I forgot about Buddy, we'll just do a bit of a goal watch. So obviously that 3-1 takes his total to 1,043. He's 14 goals off Doug Wade's 1,057. And so that would make him 4th if he reaches that.
Yep.
Or obviously fourth if he gets 1,058. So would need another 15 goals for the rest of the year because obviously finals count in the record keeping. So, yeah, it's possible.
It's possible.
I mean, he's already doing pretty well for himself. But, yeah, there we go. All right, mate. On to hot topics. So injuries, no injuries listed. So let's have a quick look at the VFL. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, Braden Campbell was the Medi sub. 3-point win over Collingwood in the VFL, 67-64. I watched a little bit of that on the streaming on the way to the pub. It looked good, looked tight. Obviously, Laddams has played well. Sheldrick, Taylor doing his normal thing. HHK, Hugo Hall Kahan. I'm not sure if HHK is a thing yet, but I'm hoping it will be. Cunners, Gould, Bell, Wicks, Amati, McLean, all listed as contributors. Laddams particularly, so 30 disposals, 28 hitouts, 12 marks, 7 clearances. So,
wow.
Do you make any changes?
Well, I think I was saying last week that Laddams is probably one of the ones that you kind of consider, right? So, but at this time in the season, one game to go, do you use him to see whether that dual ruck situation can work? Do we see, because we tried, I think we only played 2 games with that configuration before perhaps Hickey went out and then Laddams took over and then Laddams got injured and Hickey came back in. So, and I think we had one game where they had neither of them. So I think it's a tough way to go because he's clearly got the numbers. He's clearly doing the job. He was good when he was in the team and you could use him. But in the structure we have now, the way that we're rolling, the way that Hickey's seemingly warming up over the last couple of weeks, and each game's getting better and more consistent. What do you think, Noddy? Do you bring him into the team?
I'm not sure, mate. I don't think you do.
Yeah.
Only because Reid has been playing so well. Obviously, he sprayed a few shots, but he's still playing amazingly well in the chop out and around the ground. And those contested marks he took. Yeah. Special. So
what about the Logan situation?
Yeah, look, I think we persist. I was happy with what I saw with Logan there. I thought he did the things that other Swans fans had seen that I hadn't. I was focusing on the goals, but his defensive efforts and his running was, I don't know what exactly they were, but they looked elite. Like he was just everywhere. He was helping all around that sort of 50-metre arc and even further down the ground. And some of his little handballs were really clever. Obviously, the only other thing, it'd be nice to see him get his kick a couple of goals. Missed that one. I think kicked one behind. I swear to God that went through from where we were sitting.
It looked like it did, didn't it? Even on TV, yeah. I still maintain that there's a conspiracy that's probably a goal. It looked like a goal.
Have a look at it at least.
Yeah, that's it. Have a look. Yeah.
Oh, while we're talking about conspiracies, I'll just have that Paddy McCartan rush behind. Free kick to Ash Johnson. That was ridiculous.
Okay, I've got a position on this that maybe some Swans fans won't like. So whatever the rulings are on paper, I think I haven't got it in front of me, but effectively it does potentially have the makings to be a incorrect rush behind. So,
I'd agree with that.
But the fact that he was caught on the play on when there was no play on to be had, that his mark didn't stand on the mark, that none of that thing happened prior to that should have been more likely to be a 50 before anything else. So I just think it was just a mess of a play. It was silly. It was unnecessary. And in just watching the game, it should have just been a rush behind. There was you can take the letter of the law down to it, but when you look at the pressure and what was applied and the space that he had and the scenario, just that's 1 point. Just give him a point.
Imagine if he called that at the MCG in the same type of vibe.
Yeah.
The Crows fans would have been livid. This would be the talking point. That free kick, right?
Yeah.
It actually changed momentum for a moment. We're lucky we obviously came out in third and got the job done and over the course of the game, but it changed momentum in that moment. I think they got a goal after that. It might have been when Buddy did that miss kick and Pendlebury hit up Mason Cox. But I think that it was a shocker.
It was a weird one.
But
at the same time, I hate rush behinds like that because it's just a pretty ordinary look. You know what I mean? Like if you've got your guy, rather than having to try to keep the ball in, which is all these freaking changes we've had in the game recently, has all been about keeping the ball into play. You know, no, don't push it out deliberately. Blah 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 blah. Don't lock it down for no reason. All of these things. That's a similar vein where you're like basically taking the ball out because the pressure is a little bit tough, rather than trying to do something to play on. And look, either way, I'm glad it made no difference to the game because I think that would have been disgusting. But I would really love for the AFL to come out and clear that up, to be like, this is the scenario, it was or it wasn't for this reason. Because now you're going to have a whole lot of backs like Paddy McCartan, fullbacks now are going to be nervous during finals time to see is that a rush behind or isn't. Were they applying enough pressure? Like, what does Paddy need to do? Stand on the goal line, wait for someone to come and tackle him? Like,
he was the guy was right there.
The guy could have touched him. Yeah, absolutely.
He was definitely under pressure.
He was under pressure. No doubt about that. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Look, just going back to the Laddams chat real quick. I don't know if you bring him in. I just don't know. Like, obviously, Paddy Ryder is out for the season with a calf. The Saints are running with, obviously, Rowan Marshall as a key ruck there. I think in support, this is just recently, I think they'd have Battle, potentially, wasn't it?
So
is one of their chop outs. Max King would probably go in there a little bit. My bad. I don't know if Battle's been in there. But anyway, look, I think that probably Hickey and Reid stay as that structure. And then I think Logan you run with because, you know, part of a winning team. I thought Logan was lucky to come in when he did for Amadi. I thought that was a bit stiff, but now he's part of this winning team. So I think you stay strong. Hey, talking about rules and changing rules halfway through the year, obviously, Ginnivan has been in the limelight unfairly as the scapegoat or the pantomime villain, as has been reported.
I like that.
Yeah, not mine. I'm referencing from one of the sites there. I can't remember which one, but he obviously didn't help himself by releasing, or whoever leaked that video of him training, I think it was Will Hoskin-Elliott or one of the other guys, on how to milk a free kick. But Cody Waitman came out afterwards. You know, Papley's pretty good at it as well. It's all part of the art of the small forward. But obviously it didn't go well in higher up circles, and which were all run by key forwards and rucks, and they got rid of they altered the rule, right? Yeah. So we've spoken about this when they did it. It was what, three or so weeks ago, 4 weeks ago maybe. You can't lift your arm, you can't drop down. You know, this is all milking a high contact penalty, right? It happened in the game. It happened in the game against us. And I thought, it might have been a little bit high to start with. And everyone was very quick to say it was. But I watched this. I'm sorry, mate. I watched the replay of this about 15 times. And I actually thought that Ginnivan did the same thing that they brought the rule in for. Yeah, but I thought he lifted his right arm and he dropped down. But yes, at the same time, Paddy did start a little bit high.
But here's my take on it. It's a bang-bang play. It's so fast. Like the umpire, wherever they're standing, like hopefully sees what you saw in slow-mo over 15 different times, and he saw a bang play, and he's been wired in his mind to blow the whistle when he sees a particular thing, when it feels wrong. And he wanted, well, that looks wrong, bang, blew the whistle, fine. Like, that's okay, grand. Fine, that's what happens. It could be a shitty call, but a shitty call is a shitty call. But
I booed in that moment.
Yeah.
And then I was booing after he kicked the goal. But let's face it, I'd probably give a little bit of a boo after whoever kicks a goal against us. But the irony is that they brought in this rule. They won't, go on record as saying it, but it was pretty much for his actions.
The Ginnivan rule,
the Ginnivan rule, right? Yeah. And now when they played the Bombers, you saw Mason Redman basically choke the guy out.
Yeah, I saw that. Yes.
And not given a penalty at all.
Yeah.
And we're the suckers that get hit. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We won.
It's
but
different.
He goes off injured. Different umpire. Yeah, he goes off injured, and then I didn't realize this is the game. I don't think you would have either. I didn't see him on the screen. I didn't boo. Obviously, me saying I didn't doesn't alleviate my, the fact that I'm a Swans fan and it did happen. But I just thought that the focus on that moment was probably instigated by the commentators, and the media here again play a big role. But then obviously there's social media, Taylor Adams calling us grubs, which I thought was,
bit
the pot calling the kettle black and white. That's the best joke I think I've written and prepared for this evening's podcast. But I just think that, that's bullshit. The point is, the talking point is that Swans fans, they can't have it both ways. We're angry that the Pies fans and the rest of the AFL booed Adam Goods, right? So why are we booing a poor injured player on the bench?
Look, it's a bad look. You shouldn't be booing injured players. Like, it's just there's no need for it. And I genuinely think that unfortunately the Swans fans have bit onto this AFL media driven junk, this ridiculous junk that makes Ginnivan, like what you mentioned, the pantomime villain, because he was just doing his gift. Like, that's what his game is. That's what he's been doing his whole career, and he's been doing a good job of it. And fine, we don't like it, we don't like the look of it, whatever. It's not his fault that the rules were written that way. And so they made him to be a villain, and now people are booing him, and that is not the right thing. Having said that, it's also okay to call out when other people were booing Goodsy for supposedly for flopping or whatever, for flopping for free kicks, and that's why they were booing him. Meh. We all don't believe that, but I think the point is there's just booing a player for playing the way they do and getting success out of it. It's just a weird way of going about it as a fan. I find that really weird, honestly.
I also think, if I might just add, that comparing Jack Ginnivan to Adam Goods
is ridiculous.
It is. Just on a player level.
Yeah.
And Ginnivan, I actually quite like Ginnivan. I think he's a great player. He's very important for the Pies. He's kicked like 33, 34 goals for them. So he's like their equivalent Papley, really.
Yep.
And it's in his first year, really, of top-level footy, and I think he's got a good career ahead of him. But to put those two players on the same level is sort of uneducated, I think, and also to compare these situations is flippant, because one is racially driven and the other is, sort of just, as you said, biting onto this media driven drivel, right? But yeah, there were a lot of online discussions. It was clear to me that a lot of Collingwood fans still can't recognise the inherent racism that happened at that time. And to say, why aren't we're not booing all the other Indigenous players?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's just dumb.
So
it goes down to like, okay, fine, you're not booing him for that particular, or you're not. You as an individual, that Collingwood fan that's listening to this damn podcast just to get all riled up. You are personally may not be booing him because of you're racially vilifying him. Fine, but you have to recognize that was an enormous aspect, and it was a terrible, terrible, terrible look at the time. So it's just I think we're just going in circles now when we're talking about this, because
it happens every week though, Chris. Like, remember when we played Essendon at the MCG?
Yeah, and
what did the Bombers fans do? They booed Parker.
That's right.
Right. The Pies fans booed Redmond. I'm sure they're going to boo him next year because of that choke out on Ginnivan. It is a little bit part of the game, but at the same time as we listened, they should have listened sooner. But we listened to Swans fans when Goods is saying this is affecting my mental health because it's an issue of race, because that's where it started when the Collingwood girl called him an ape or a monkey. Right. And then they just folded it in with this flopping stuff, which is just nonsense, right? If the player comes out and says, this is affecting my mental health, then you have to listen to that. And I think it has, Ginnivan has mentioned that. And obviously it's something you got to take seriously. So Horses asked us not to boo. We're not going to boo. We're not grubs. Sydney Swans fans aren't grubs. No. But we are emotional, and it was a very intense game. And we have fallen victim to some of this media nonsense.
I think that's where my ending point for this is. Let's just think for ourselves a little bit more. Like, there was no reason to boo him. Like, okay, he gets free kicks for getting head high. He doesn't anymore. So what's the problem? What's your problem? Why are you booing the kid? All right, there's no need for that. There genuinely isn't. And fine if there's a really ordinary.
Well, he did in that game.
Well, no, that's
my point.
I agree with you. So let me
finish
this off. So he, as an individual, does not deserve to be booed. Full stop. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's just played his game.
But what about Parker?
Well, same with Parker. But all of us, like, don't worry about it. It's like you're doing what I'm suggesting what some of the Pies fans are doing. It's just like, well, what about that? What about that? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about them. Worry about what we can do as Swans fans.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. That's fine. I agree, and I think we'll fall in line.
So, like,
I'm just trying to highlight the Collingwood fans that have responded online with a lot of vitriol that they're. I don't know.
But we're never going to change them.
Clearly.
They are broken. Yeah. Like, they are broken. What you can change. Look, it's okay to boo.
Some of them are good people.
I'm sure they are. They very much are. Honestly, they're quite a few of them. But if it's okay to boo the decision at the time that you didn't agree with and go like, didn't like that, boo as he takes the kick, fine. Done and dusted, you move on. But then the boo the kid when he's sitting there injured, not even taking part in the game is ridiculous. And that's a bad look. And it's awful. We don't need to do it. You don't get anything out of it apart from just bad publicity, make a kid feel bad for no reason other than him playing his own game. That I didn't like. I didn't like that at all. And I think that's where it should sit.
Yeah. I mean, there is a few fans out there that would say, well, he's on the screen smiling and laughing and looking like he's enjoying it himself. And he's that kind of character. But then if he comes out and says, my mental health is affected, then, look, it's fine. I don't think, we're not going to boo. It's, as I said, I don't think I think Sydney Swans fans and South Melbourne fans are pretty well behaved and we're pretty respectful and we're understanding of, social issues. And I like to think we're progressive. So we're going to move with this pretty quickly. And I think it's done. But
I think hopefully if we do see him in the finals, and he gets the ball, and if there's anyone booing it, I'm going to be pissed. Because personally, as a Swans fan, I'd be like, come on, guys. Like, there's zero reason to boo this kid. So let's just hope he doesn't get to that.
They're saying it could be a 3-weeker. So it's disappointing if he does miss out on their finals games for him personally. So anyway, look, I think we've spoken about this
too much,
a good amount.
Too much, just like the AFL media has made you and me talk about this.
I know it's shocking.
We're sucked into it, so let's just move on with it. Boo the decision, don't boo the player. That's the situation.
Here's another empty void we could slip into.
Nice,
Clarkson.
Oh, awesome!
All right, 2 minutes, go. Let's just get it done.
All right, this is the greatest thing ever. He's told the Giants that he only wants to be in Victoria, so the Giants are out of the game. He was always going to go to North because, I don't know, North is going to go to Tassie or something. I don't know what's going on with North, right? But he's going to go to North this entire time, despite them not having a proper situation with their board, also not quite having the players that they need, farm system, none of that. He was going to go to North. Okay, fair enough. All of a sudden, he rolls over. Essendon's like, oh yeah, we might sack this coach, although we might not. It all depends on whether you're coming or not. And rumor has it, who knows why, he's thinking about it. What do you know, Noddy? What do you think?
Well, I think they've got rid of Rutten already.
No, he's still there.
No, I thought he was fired.
No, he's still there. As of right now, I saw it today.
Rutten remains.
Remains.
Rutten says turmoil not ideal. Yeah, okay. Look,
fair enough, Rutten.
It's the Bombers, so my care factor on this is like very low, bordering on negligent. But look, Steve-O made the point that he doesn't think that Clarko would be a good fit for the Bombers just because of the intense rivalry between them and the Hawks, and the fact that it's a pretty young list, all things considered, at the Bombers, and Clarkson's style is probably a little bit more old school, where he's known to have angry outbursts. So we've seen how that goes, with young lists. Noble was meant to have been given like 3 or 4 years to bring this club back from the brink, and they got rid of him before the season's finished because he had a bit of a whinge at the players. So
he told the players to shape up and in a strong way, and he gets the sack because of the bad publicity around it. The board at North is weak. They are weak. The board members need to go, not the coach half the time. It is a shocker over there.
Yeah.
Anyway, is he worth it? There's no idea. Why are we talking about it? Is
I don't
Clarko
know.
worth it at this point? Is he worth all
I
of this
wouldn't.
turmoil that's going on?
I mean, look, he's up there with Dimmer as one of the most successful modern
No
coaches. I
doubt.
mean, you also put Horse there as well, just for his record over the 13 years. Not the flags, but certainly the amount of times to make the finals. Well, you'd probably put Chris Scott in there as well.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so, but I don't know. It's Clarko. He's
Okay. Can I finish off with this then? Scale of 1 to 10. How much do you care?
and 0 to 1.
Okay. Scale of 1 to 10. How good of a coach do you think he's going to be for whatever team takes him over the next 5 years or so?
Look, he'll probably do well if they can embrace his style, I guess. I mean, I was hoping that he would get on that Tassie wave and be but he obviously wants to coach soon, and Tassie's, there's all that brinkmanship with the stadium nonsense, and, Tassie's looking like it won't happen immediately. So he obviously, he's been getting paid from Hawthorn for doing nothing this year. So I think that might run out this year. He's looking for, doing all sorts of further professional development. But, yeah, he obviously wants a job.
Yep.
But yeah, look, whatever.
I'm with you.
Whatever.
I don't care. And will he go to a club and do well? Yeah, maybe. I don't care also. So good on him. Whatever. Let's move on.
Yeah, he's also he was at the Hawks when we had a huge rivalry with them. So he was a bit of a villain in my eyes for that time. So anyway, we've left it out here just quickly before we touch on AFLW. News is that Swans and a couple of other clubs, Pies, Richmond, Brisbane, and Saints maybe, have been fined or sanctioned for some COVID breaches. That's kind of the extent of that. We didn't. Some of the players didn't register rats when they should have, or
didn't take
did it
photos
truthfully.
or whatever.
Yeah. So I think half of that is suspended, and it will go to the soft cap, which obviously is already under pressure. So not great, but they'll pay for it and hopefully learn. I'm not sure what was going on there, but. It's interesting that the timing of this negative
publicity
journalism, isn't it? Just as we jump up in a second, it's like, okay, let's bash the Swans.
Well, it's quite funny. The post that I did see about it from Mitch Cleary, even of all people, was clubs fined. The Swans have taken 100 grand in fines. And they just left it there. And then someone posted, can you tell us what the rest of the teams are, please? Why is it just the Swans that were mentioned? So, good timing, coming in second with nice and hot. So, good time to bring us down a bit. Or at least the AFL media is now thinking there's a story here. So, that's something.
Anyway. All right. I think you've got a AFLW update.
Yes, we've got some cool stuff going on AFLW. So, not only did the VFL play the Pies and the AFL played the Pies, AFLW also played the oh my god, played. This is like the duck thing from last week. The AFLW played the Pies also an exhibition game, and although the Pies won from all standing from everywhere I've seen, was that the Swannies played really well. Just a great hit out from a lot of players. Saw some really good talented girls out there. So that's super exciting. So we've got another week off this week and then they start the season. So massive stuff. And also the leadership group I haven't seen the captain announced necessarily as yet, but the leadership group has been announced. Alana Woodward, Beck Privatelli, Brooke Loughlin, Lawrence Sitzgetti, Lisa Stain, and Maddie Collier, all part of the leadership group. So good on you, ladies. The big Swans AFLW team is getting wrapped up lovely. They should be announcing the captain somewhat soon. And we've got a game on the 27th at North Sydney Oval. If you haven't got your tickets, get them. I almost guarantee it's going to be close to a sellout. So it's going to be grand. Get going.
And that's the week before finals.
We've got the week off. So if you want to watch football anyway, see you at North Sydney Oval. We'll be there.
Good stuff. All right, mate. Well, we better get cracking onto this preview.
Oh, my God.
As we said, so massive game ahead. As we know, St Kilda versus Sydney at Marvel this Sunday afternoon, which actually be the last game played in the regular home and away format for season 2022.
Yeah, so we're coming in 10th. St Kilda are coming in 10th, 11 wins, 10 losses, as we mentioned before, at 100.1, difference. And And yeah, 2 of their last 5 wins, and they do have a mathematical chance to get top 8. But oh my goodness, a lot needs to go right. Firstly, Carlton and the Bulldogs both need to lose, and St Kilda need to get another 8 points on their difference, which would just be, oh God, I'm not going to do the math at the top of my head, but it'd be basically like 100 and something point win in order for them to make it worth over us. So let's just say, without sounding too cocky, that's probably outside of their grasp, but nonetheless, an important game.
Let's hope it is anyway. We're obviously coming second, as mentioned, 15 wins, 6 losses, 128.3%. We are 5 from our last 5. In fact, we're 6 on a 6-game win streak. And we are, as we've already discussed, well placed to push for second with 2 home finals
huge.
pending this game.
Yeah, massive. And in the last 5 games for St Kilda, they've been alternate wins with us. So... what's that, Noddy? Yeah, Sydney.
Just them.
Us them. And yeah, so
obviously the most recent win against them was round 15 this year. It was a massive game for us. We beat them by 51 points. I think it was one of our best games of the year. And obviously, apart from the Essendon blemish, after the bye, that game against the Saints set us up basically for our current win streak. So, we've got a lot to thank for that. How are we looking in terms of AFL League rankings, mate?
Yeah, look, in numbers, the tackles are our big win there. So we're coming in second in tackles, St Kilda in 11th. So basically the 2 teams in the position of the ladder, basically, in tackle pressure. So we average about 6 more tackles per game, which doesn't sound like a lot on that paper when you put it that way. But when you look at the actual numbers that we've been racking up in the last few weeks, we definitely have the run of the tackles. And in particular, tackles inside 50, we're coming in first at 11 per game, and St Kilda at 10th. At 10 per game. About 12 per game for us and about 10 and a half for them. So again, the difference between the two kind of looks slight, but it's also the way that we've been playing at this last part of the season versus the way they were playing at the beginning of the season makes a big difference for those two. So we're definitely the hot team, and they're starting to slow down a fair bit at the end of this year.
Yeah, I'll just give them a quick shout out. Like, they're coming first for marks and we're 7th. So, there you go.
There's something.
Give him something. Look, obviously we've touched on this. Max King is coming off a big game last week against Brisbane where he kicked 0 goals, 5 behinds in that 15-point loss to Brisbane. So obviously he'll be keen to rebound and have a big game. Otherwise, for them, you've got the captain Steele, Sinclair we've already talked about last time with our Clarkey, Bradley Hill, he's in some pretty good form. Rowan Marshall on the ruck, Gresham. These players are all dangerous. They're pretty fast in general. I don't know. Have you got any other players in mind for the Saints there we need to be wary of?
No, that's about it for me. I think that's the dangerous ones, really. Max King, he's hoping that he just keeps up that form of kicking behind and kicking from right in front and shanking the living daylights out of it. Of the players, I just imagine Clarkey on Sinclair again. I don't see it being too different. Maybe Hill as well. Those two are probably the 2 players that make a lot of sense for him to sit on. What do you think?
I think that's probably right. I think they go there again, and I don't know. Maybe they'll choose to put Sinclair in the middle because of that. How well Clarkey went on him last time, but they've got a few outs. We should acknowledge the Saints are got a few players out for the season, right? Billings season, Caulfield season. Oh, Gresham's out for the season. My apologies. Sorry.
All right.
So Jack Hayes less so. Paddy Ryder season, that's a big one. Jimmy Webster, he's a bit of a role player. So they've got a couple of players out. And Dan Hennebury test. I think we're going to...
They're such a funny team, and that when Paddy Ryder's playing, they're one of the best teams in the comp by like a mile. and he's not playing, and then all of a sudden they drop down to about middle. So he's such an important player for him. But one thing that Horst did say, and I think that's kind of what we've been driving on earlier when we're talking about the ladder positioning, is that his quote is, "Our destiny is in our own hands." And you can't say more than that, Noddy, can we? Like, we must win this game in order to get that top 2 spot.
Yep. And look, Marvel, we have traditionally gone pretty well at, but hopefully we can continue that. Hopefully we can just continue the vibe that we've brought for this second half of the season and have a really good crack. And fingers crossed, mate.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Hey, you know who is going to be at the game, or hopefully might be at the game? God knows. Hanbury has done his hammy, I think, or his calf or some other soft ankle this time. Oh my goodness, this guy, poor guy. Like, I've had a suspicion the last few weeks that he may be retiring. There's nothing's being said outside of me saying this, so please take this with a fucking grain of salt. But I just it reminded me of the game from, was it 2019, where it was us St Kilda, where we got up, but we had some of these champions retire at the same time. It was Kieran Jack, McVeigh, Nick Smith, and Grundy all retiring on the same game, with both McVeigh and Kieran Jack getting goals in that last game that finished it off. And it was awesome. And then, of course, Hanbury helped take them off the field, which was pretty fitting, considering how much time it spent just, getting it done for the Swans and ruining his body for the greater good of the Bloods. And I hope he, I don't know, I hope he has I hope he feels good about what he's done in terms of his career, especially with the Swannies, and give him a bit of love while we're there. So if you're Swans fans that are over there, if you see him, give him a big hug because he deserves it.
Definitely, mate. And wouldn't be a game against St Kilda if we didn't reference your previous very favourite player, Zachy Jones.
Oh, Zachy Jones. Don't start on Zachy Jones. But like
Zac Attack.
But just look back on those things. You go, well, he was an important player for us, or he could have been a really important player in the structure of things. But, he replaced his style of play with maybe like a Warner. And, you can see Warner's got his ceilings insane. So, it is what it is. I will take it. I will accept this. It's fine.
Well acknowledged. Very humble, man. All right, mate. Well, that actually brings us to the end of the episode. So on behalf of the Bevy, I'd like to say thank you to all your Cygnets and Swanlings out there for listening in. Make sure to keep following us on Instagram and Facebook at A Bevy of Bloods for various content, updates and announcements. Until then, up the Bloods.
And can you Swatties?
Come on, boys.
One more game. Let's go.
Bring it home.